Welcome to the Popish Plot. My name is Nate.
I'm Mike.
Today is Fermentation Friday, and we are going to be talking about Oktoberfest. Prost. Now, since some of you might not be all that familiar with Oktoberfest or what it is, Oktoberfest is a celebration that's held in Munich, Germany every year. It usually starts in mid to late September, and it goes until October. Runs 16 to 18 days, depending on when the first Sunday in October is. It was originally a celebration of the wedding of King Ludwig and Princess Therese. He was Catholic. She was Lutheran. Obviously, there were going to be some issues there, but they could agree on two things: a love of the Lord our God and a love of beer. Now, another fact about Oktoberfest is that the only beers that are able to be served, that are allowed to be served at the Oktoberfest, are Munich-made beers that follow the Reinheitsgebot, which is the German purity law stating that beer can only be made with water, barley, hops, and yeast. And this is actually an updated version of the law. Originally, it stated nothing about yeast. They didn't realize it was a thing. And so apparently they thought that it was that you got water, barley, and hops together, and then magic happened.
Well, who amongst us hasn't at some point thought that beer is in fact magic?
Fair enough.
And you say it's been going on for over 200 years?
Yep, over 200 years, about 2 weeks long every year since 1810.
You know, I really respect people who are that precise about their partying. It leads us to the point that in filming this episode, we are, in fact, walking a tightrope. On the one hand, the whole reason that the Popish Plot exists is to show the joy of leading the Christian life here in the 21st century. And this isn't an act. We're not trying to sell you. We truly enjoy our faith. But at the same time, while firmly agreeing with the words of Hilaire Belloc, that wherever the Catholic sun doth shine, there's always laughter and good red wine, we don't want people to be led into scandal. We don't want them to think that they should join the Catholic Church only for the drinking.
Whoa, wait, hold on. That was a primary selling point when I got walked into this thing. I was told, look, we got a really open attitude about alcohol.
But Nate, consider where you were in your life at that point.
Right.
Alcohol was appealing to you.
Sure.
If we had told you to become Catholic so that you could grow in personal holiness, you would have blown us off.
Yeah, probably.
So we pulled a little bit of a bait and switch, but I'm confident that all these years later, you're very happy with the decision that you made.
Oh, absolutely. I'd make it again and again. And we should also point out that alcohol in and of itself is not sinful. However, its misuse is. Drinking to excess, becoming drunk, or drinking when you are the type of person who drinking causes you to, or leads you to near occasions of sin, are things that need to be avoided. These are not good things. These do not lead to good life choices. They don't lead to a more fulfilled, holy life. So you definitely want to stay away from those things.
And both of us know people, men especially, who are in recovery. They are alcoholics. They must abstain. And I have the greatest sympathy and respect for what those men go through. But for those of you who are able to imbibe and just have a good time, not invoke any deleterious consequences, we salute you. Also noting, though, that the Catechism of the Catholic Church in Article 2290 teaches us, the virtue of temperance disposes us to avoid every kind of excess, the abuse of food, alcohol, tobacco, or medicine, and those incur grave guilt who by drunkenness or love of speed endanger their own or other safety on the road, at sea, or in the air.
So two things I'm taking away from this, Mike. Number one, for all those occasions when you've heard somebody say, hold my beer, this is going to be epic. That's definitely a bad situation. People should be avoiding those things.
Always a bad idea.
Always a bad idea. And number two, I heard nothing about astronauts. Go ahead and drink up, boys.
That's not even remotely what you were supposed to get out of that.
Oh.
But it does highlight that there's a distinction between the legal definition of drunkenness and the church's moral definition of drunkenness. The state insists on strict empiricism. Well, you didn't say space, so I can drink in space. If your blood alcohol level is above level X, which will vary state by state, you are drunk. You may be drunk in one state, not in another state. The church's moral teaching is about something far more perilous. It's about whether or not you've lost control, whether you still have your reason, or you have no control of your faculties and senses. And it doesn't matter whether you're following the legal definition. It's all about whether or not you're morally drunk.
And it should be noted that because there are these two different definitions, one could be legally drunk and not morally drunk. Or vice versa, they could be morally drunk and not legally drunk. But in either case, you want to avoid either of these extremes. Straight down the middle of the road, not driving on the shoulders, because that place leads to bad decisions, bad life choices, bad outcomes.
And we have a moral obligation to maintain a good reputation so that those who do not believe in the good news of Jesus Christ will respect us and thus be more receptive to the message. Go back to the very earliest days of Christianity, the morning of Pentecost. Peter and the apostles have had the Holy Spirit come upon them in the upper room, tongues as of fire, and they go out and speak, boldly proclaiming the risen Christ to all of Jerusalem. And there are people gathered there from the entire world, people who speak many different languages, and yet they all understand what's being said. These Galileans should not be able to speak all of these languages. So some who don't believe accuse them of being drunk. And here, Peter, the Prince of the Apostles, the first pope, says some very important words for us. He says, "We could not possibly be drunk. It's only 9 in the morning."
So for all those of you who are thinking that the Bible is against alcohol, clearly right here, St. Peter contradicts all of that. He could have said, we're not drunk because we don't drink. But that's not what he said. He said, we're not drunk because it's too early. He's not condemning drinking. He's condemning a morning bender. So no hair of the dog. No going to the bar before noon at the earliest.
Not even on St. Patrick's Day.
Not even on St. Patrick, especially not on St. Patrick's Day.
Mm-hmm. So, you could share with us in the comments some of your favorite recipes for whatever your favorite drink may be. It could be soft, it could be something a little more adult, and maybe we'll imbibe it on the next Fermentation Friday.
Unless, of course, it involves cheap, mass-produced American lagers, because our bodies are temples of the Holy Spirit, and we are not going to fill it with that swill.
But craft lagers are okay.
Yes, craft is okay, as are comments on your favorite fermented items. Beer, wine, liquor, or perhaps kimchi, sauerkraut, or pickles. Any fermented item is fine. Share with us what you like, and maybe we'll make a point of bringing that to our show at some point in time at a later date. And remember, until next time,
subscribe to our channel and click on the bell so that you're alerted whenever a new video is uploaded.
And live your faith.
Love your faith.
Share that love. Prost.